6 o'clock, I call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Rajaratnam.
Here.
Commissioner Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Blades.
Here.
Commissioner Hayman. Here. 4 present. We have a quorum.
Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I request Officer Booth to lead us in the pledge, sir.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, officer. You may be seated, please. Approval of agenda.
At this time, staff is going to request that we add committee assignments to the agenda.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve.
Second, please.
Yes, please.
Vice Chairman Rajaratnam.
Aye.
Commissioner Ferris.
Aye.
Commissioner Blades.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman. Aye. 4 ayes. Motion carries.
Approval of minutes of April 23rd, 2019. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second? There was nobody else.
Solomon, we can't hear you.
Oh,
So if people could speak into the microphone, please.
approval of minutes, April 23rd, 2019. I made a motion to approve. There is nobody to second because Bill wasn't here and both the new commissioners weren't there. So maybe we should carry this item to the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have commission presentation. I request Officer Booth to come to the podium and all of the commissioners to join me. Officer Booth has served the Planning Commission in many ways, especially with the abatements, and he has taken so much of heat also, but he was there all the time. He took care of what needed to be done for the betterment of this community. So I really thank you for what you have done to our community, and it's my honor to present this plaque. It says, in appreciation of your dedication and your service to the city of Ridgecrest, Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sir. Say any, officer, you want?
Sure.
Do you like to say something?
I'll say something real quick.
Sure.
As most of you may know, I retired from NCIS originally with 29 years of service. After I got out, I was basically at home for 5 years looking for something to do, particularly for the city, because NCIS for some reason kept sending me back here. I was with NIST. I was here a total of 18 years when I was in that service, and I was looking for something to basically help the city. Then this job came up. Luckily, I was hired, and I've tried to do my best to clean up the city and make it look nice. And with the Planning Commission's help, I think I've done it. And all the best to you all, and good luck.
Right. Thank you. Good luck to you in whatever you are doing. We will count on you always.
Thank you.
at this time we have committee assignments. We have planning commissioners are supposed to be on 5 committees: Media and Art, Economic Development, City Organization, Infrastructure, PR, and Quality of Life. There are few areas where we need to fill up planning commissioners. So, Heather, do you want to take the lead on this, please?
So the Economic Development Committee is short 1 commissioner. Does anyone want to do that?
Sure, I will.
And then the Infrastructure Committee is short 1 commissioner.
I will. Nobody else wants to.
Will you want to go?
For infrastructure?
Infrastructure.
Yeah. He's willing to.
So you're,
Yep.
And then we need 2 commissioners for the quality of life.
I don't mind being on that as well.
yeah, each commissioner generally serves on 2 committees, so.
Sure.
Thank you, commissioners, appreciate.
I'm gonna say that as well.
Now we'll move on to public comments on items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the Commission on matters that are within the Commissioner's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Planning Commission may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name while addressing the Commission. We will give a minute for this. I don't see anybody coming to the podium, so let's go ahead and close the public comment session at 6:08. We'll move on to public hearing. So at this time, I open public hearing item. The proposed Oasis project consists of several applications as described below. The Oasis projects consist of applications for tentative track map 12291, site plan review 19-01, variance 19-01, and development agreement. The site is located at the southeast corner of China Lake Boulevard and Radar Avenue. Sir, please.
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the Commission, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Asoka Herat, and I'm a planning consultant, and I worked on this project on behalf of this city. The item tonight, as Vice Chair mentioned, has several applications associated with it. It has a tentative parcel map, and it has a site plan review application, a variance application, and a development agreement, which I will be going through a little bit more detail. As mentioned, the project is located at the southeast corner of China Lake Boulevard and Radar Avenue. It's a 17.34 acre parcel of land, undeveloped. The southerly portion has been used for several years for various activities. The rest of the area, the northerly area, has not been used in the past. To the north is a commercial development. Across the street on the west side is a commercial development with vacant land to the south of it. And to the south is the Super Walmart Center, and the east is a single-family residential area shared by a common wall between the proposed project and the existing homes. It's a picture looking north from the Super Walmart parking lot across Bowman Road, looking towards the project site. The southerly area, as I mentioned, has been used for various temporary activities, such as some sort of a construction activity going in that area as it is now. Here's another picture looking from the north, from Raider Avenue, looking south. The forefront is the undeveloped portion of the property. Let's move on to the tentative parcel map. As you know, the parcel maps are traditionally 4 or less than 4 parcels. But commercial industrial developments can have more than 4 parcels and process a tentative parcel map. The applicant has submitted parcel map 12291 for processing. Originally started with 13 parcels, I believe, but as it stands today, they are proposing to subdivide the 17.34 acres into 15 parcels. And each and every parcel that's been proposed meets the minimum lot area, which is the 10,000 square feet in this zone, and a lot depth of 100 feet. The smallest lot is 10,030 square feet in size, and the largest lot, which is the lot 15, the parking lot, is 11 plus acres. Because it's a parcel map and there's going to be a development associated with this area, there are conditions requiring the applicant to prepare and record CCNRs, conditions, covenants, and restrictions. And the parking lot is going to be shared by many parcels, so therefore reciprocal access and parking agreement will be another item. And common area maintenance entity, whether it's a lot owners association or some other entity. Those are pretty much conditions, special conditions that we have added to the parcel map. What you're seeing is a site plan, and the site plan is being proposed to be developed in phases. Phase 1 will include a 10-screen cinema, an office building, some retails, and some pads for future retail, and 2 main access off of China Lake Boulevard, and 2 access off of Raider Avenue, and also included the parking lot as well as 2 fast food restaurants in phase 1. In phase 2, we don't know the timing of the phase 2 at this time, and it will be subsequent to the phase 1, and it will happen incrementally. And that's where the development agreement comes in and allow the entire development to be completed in 10 years with extensions possible. The total development will be approximately 164,829 or 28 square feet as proposed now, and the number may be a little bit up or down, but we are taking it as a 164,828 square feet shopping center, including the cinema and retail and restaurant pads. All uses that are permitted at this time, that's shown on the site plan, are permitted uses within that zone. However, in the future, the speculative buildings, if there's going to be a use that requires a conditional use permit prior to establishing those uses, they will be coming before the Planning Commission prior to establishing those uses to get a conditional use permit. but office users, retail users, the cinema, fast food restaurants, all those are listed as permitted uses in the CG zone, which is the zoning of this property. There are some renderings that the applicant has submitted to us, and these renderings are on your screen at this time. This is the cinema on top, and the other elevations, the west and south elevations, are also included on this page. And next is again west and east elevations of some of the buildings proposed for the area. And a detailed entrance feature at the cinema is depicted on this slide. Here's another rendering looking at an angle towards the buildings that's being proposed. Keep in mind, these are renderings. These are not building elevations that will be required under the site plan review, which has been conditioned to be submitted for processing by the city. In order to guide Phase 1 as well as future Phase 2 buildings, the applicant has prepared a colors and material board so that everybody will be following these colors and these materials, and some of the architectural elements at entrances to buildings. So these are guidelines at this time which will be incorporated into this approval if the project gets approved tonight. Timing of the entire project is driven by the development agreement, which I will get into in a little bit. As I mentioned, more detailed plans are required, and they have been conditioned to prepare those plans and submit detailed plans for approval based on these conceptual approval if the project gets approved today. The plans include site plans, building elevations, landscape plans, and various other engineering drawings. There is an existing wall along the eastern property line. I believe the wall belongs to the neighborhood in that area. It's on their properties. And based on the grading that's going to be conducting for this project, the applicant is conditioned to maintain a minimum 5-foot high wall instead of trying to tear it down or build another wall, because tearing it down is not going to be easy because wall belongs to many, many homeowners in that area. Working with the group of homeowners going to be difficult. And building a second wall may create some other issues. So therefore, we are asking the applicant to pay attention to the grading plan and make a best effort to maintain a minimum 5-foot high wall when they are grading the site to accommodate the project. Unfortunately, there was a section that got omitted from the staff report. There are 3 billboards located on the property. Billboards are governed by the state law, more specifically the Business and Professions Code, Section 5200 or Chapter 5200, and the City of Ridgecrest zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance says the billboards are permitted only in service commercial zones, CS zones. The project site is CG. So as it is, the existing billboards are non-conforming. In the State of California Business and Professions Code says that when a city or agency condition a billboard to be removed, the compensation has to be paid. and the compensation is based on what the highway petrol is, Caltrans is using right now, and they are expensive. And rather than conditioning the project to remove those billboards, because I believe those billboards are either located very close to or on the access points to the future development, or maybe on the in the parking lot or where the buildings are supposed to go. So therefore, we are leaving it up to the applicant to work with the billboard companies and remove. Billboards cannot stay on the property and advertise the project, anything in the project. Then it becomes an on-site sign, not an off-site sign. On-site sign has limitations, height limitations, size limitations. So these billboards may not comply with the city sign ordinance at that time. Because of the difficulties that are coming from the Business and Professions Code, we are not conditioning those billboards to be removed. We are leaving it up to the applicant to work with the billboard companies. Another application included in the package is a variance, and mainly variance deals with the parking. At 90 degrees, city ordinance requires a 19 by 20 foot wide parking spaces at 90 degrees. The applicant is requesting 9 by 20, not 19 by 20. Applicant is requesting the width of 9 to be increased to 9.5 and the length of 20 to be decreased to 18. So instead of 9 by 20 parking spaces at 90 degrees, applicant is requesting a variance to provide 9.5 by 18 foot 90 degree parking. That's one part of the variance. The second part of the variance is most of the parking is at 60 degrees, and the applicant is again requesting the size of the parking spaces to be reduced to 9.5 by 18.5 instead of 9 by 20 that's required under the city standards right now. At 60 degree parking, the third variance part is the applicant is requesting the drive aisle width, the one-way drive aisle width at 60 degrees to be reduced to 17 from the city standards of 19 feet. The zoning ordinance requires certain findings when approving, if the commission wishes to approve the variance, and they are included in your staff report with explanations why or how it meets the city requirements. In order to assist the city, the applicant prepared a report by a traffic consultant, and the report indicates that even after these reductions in parking spaces as well as the drive aisle width, the parking lot will be functioning at an A+ level of service. So that's an extremely high level of service that can be achieved even with the reduced length and width of the parking spaces as well as the reduced width of the drive aisle. The last component of the project is a development agreement. The agreement calls for 10 years from the date of the application for building permit for phase 1, not from the date of approval. It's from the date of the first building permit for phase 1. It has other provisions for extensions. It has a schedule when and where to begin the phase 1 and phase 2, and the city manager is authorized to make certain amendments within that 10-year time period for those phasing of phase 1 and phase 2. That's contained in an attachment to the development agreement in Exhibit B. The staff prepared an environmental analysis, initial study, perform an initial study for the project, which resulted in preparing a negative declaration to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act and its guidelines. We call it CEQA and its guidelines. And the initial study and the proposed negative declaration was submitted to the state clearinghouse for processing for 30 days. That resulted in no comments from any of the agencies contacted by the state clearinghouse. In addition to state clearinghouse, the city directly distributed the initial study to the local agencies, including the water company, the school districts, and various other agencies such as the base. No comments were received as a result of that distribution. However, the staff received a phone call from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, indicating certain concerns that just in case any special species that are guaranteed by the law moves into the site, that they required the city to obtain an incident or take permit. That's what the comment is. If in case some of those species moved into the site, we believe the site is highly degraded due to human activities, and it is surrounded by development to the north, west, east, and south. So likelihood of any species moving into that site is highly unlikely. So we prepared a response, and that response was submitted to them 10 days prior to this hearing. So based on that, we recommend that the Planning Commission take following actions. Adopt a resolution recommending to the City Council approval of the development agreement and a negative declaration for that. And we also recommend to the Planning Commission approval of the parcel map 12291, approval of the site plan review 19-01, subject to conditions of approval for both, and approval of the variance and adopt a negative declaration for all these components. That concludes our presentation, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your presentation. This time I request for commissioners' comments.
I had a couple of questions about the variance for parking. I don't think it's a great idea to keep granting variances or having folks ask for variances. If this is something that is not necessary, then maybe we should sort of kick this up to council to either change the general plan or the municipal code so it's changed so we don't have to keep foregoing these. Because I do appreciate the uniformity in this, but if we just keep granting a variance anytime it's asked for, I could see that running into problems. With that being said, is there a way for us to approve this with that going through council first? Or is this just an all or nothing?
What would you want to send to council?
Well, if the general plan can be amended.
It's
So-
actually in the engineering design standards. So I believe the plan is that the engineering design standards will be updated. Looking at our city manager. We have prepared to go to infrastructure to talk about, updating our parking standards to allow, based on, planning commission approval, various things. So if they come and they've prepared like this project has, where they can prove that this design works from engineers, then it would be up to the commission.
How it works is the zoning ordinance has a section in your staff report. I mentioned this section number, and it says in terms of parking, they are subjected to city standards. So in other words, the city standards has been codified or put it into the zoning ordinance per se. So that's why the variance is required. The best way to do is if our parking requirements are much older or many years ago that we put in place and not kept with the time and the development that's taking place, cars getting smaller and whatnot. So one way to handle it, the situation is to review the parking ordinance and go with doable standards, and that will require an ordinance amendment and studying the entire parking.
That's kind of what I was asking, if that can be done, or do we have to vote on this first and then that gets pushed up to council, or is that something that they can do and then it just fits this and so there's no variance needed?
Can't do that. I don't think
No?
we can do that. No.
What's before you tonight is a variance
just a variance.
application.
Yeah,
Either
okay.
you approve it or deny it, or you can modify it. That's some options available to you. But at the same time, if you wanted to forward some ideas to the city council to initiate a ordinance amendment for parking or whatnot, you can do it, and the staff will forward that message to the city council
Okay. on
behalf of the planning commission.
Can I ask a question? What is the reason for variance request? Why they are requesting for this variance?
The specialist, the traffic consultant that they hired, the traffic engineering firm they hired to review the request, and they are under the impression, even with a smaller and less wider drive aisle width, the traffic flow can be functioned at a higher rate. It will not jeopardize the traffic flow.
Is it due to the lack of space they are requesting this variance, or?
It could be because based on the number of the total square footage, they are required to provide 718 parking spaces. At 90 degrees, it may be difficult to provide 718, and even at 60 degrees, complying to the city ordinance may present a difficult time for them. But at the same time, their consultant or the traffic consultant, traffic expert is saying even with reduced width, the parking lot will be functioning at an A+ level of service.
Sir, do you want to add anything to this?
I will if you want. I can add a little more rationale. Two things. First of all, your intuition is correct. We have a lot of parking that we need to provide. The patrons to the cinema want to park as close as they can, so we want the most efficient parking arrangement that we can come up with. But there's another rationale behind this, and it really has to do with driving behavior. When you have big, wide drive aisles, people drive faster than they do in tight, narrow spaces. And the theory behind this kind of parking arrangement is that where you've got people walking to the cinema, they're walking in the parking lot, that the 60-degree parking with a 17-foot wide drive aisle rather than 19-foot makes people drive slower, and it makes the parking lot safer. I think it makes it difficult. I drive a big truck, but I will say this: I have a much easier time parking my big truck in 60-degree angled parking. And these parking stalls are also wider than the city standard, so you're pulling into a parking stall that's 9.5 feet wide rather than the city standard of 9. So it actually makes parking easier having the wider stalls, and it gives you more space between the cars than the city standard would. So the whole package actually works together pretty well, and it provides a more efficient parking lot, and it also provides for safer speeds within the parking area. So that's our theory behind this. Now, I do appreciate the situation you're in. The current zoning ordinance doesn't have a written parking standard in it. It simply says you will comply with the standard that's adopted by the City Council. And I think it's pages 22 and 23 in the engineering manual have a couple of exhibits that shows the typical city parking standard. And it would be nice if the City Council could adopt something that would give the Planning Commission more flexibility. But they haven't done that yet. So right now, the only vehicle that we have to get a different parking lot arrangement adopted is to ask for the variance. And so we have. And we'd appreciate it if you would recommend its approval. I think the variance ends up getting kicked up to City Council anyway because it's part of the zoning ordinance. You can simply recommend its approval. But it's going to go to the City Council anyhow, along with the development agreement. So we would appreciate it if you would approve it the way it is. We've put a lot of work into making the whole site work efficiently with a focus on getting people close to the cinema. So that's
Mr. Chairman, one minor correction, please. The variance is subject to your approval, and if you deny it, then the applicant can appeal it to the City Council. Sure. So it ends here in terms of actions required. Unless it's denied, then the applicant can appeal it to the City Council. Only item that will be going to the City Council will be the development agreement. The tentative parcel map, the site plan, and the variance is your authority.
How about negative declaration? Does it have to go to the city?
Excuse me?
The negative declaration?
The negative declaration will automatically go to the City Council with the development agreement because it has to have a environmental document. And also you approve the negative declaration for these three segments of the project.
Okay. I do have a question on parking. For general commercial, it says parking space per each 300 square feet, one parking space for each 300 square feet. So the total square feet they are having is 164,829. So with that, at the rate of 1 per 300, the total parking spaces needed comes to only 549, not 718 as presented. So if you divide 164,829 by 300, That comes to 549.
I can explain that. The cinema is treated differently. The different functions are treated differently. The cinema is one parking spot for 3 fixed seats, and there's 2 different ways to interpret the parking depending on the use and the size of the building. And some of these buildings haven't been sized, but the cinema's been sized at 930 seats. So that's one seat for every, one parking space for every 3 seats. And
It's good to have more parking. I'm not denying that, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, we just balanced the site the best we could, and it's conceptual. And as we step through the process and the phases, we'll be working with you and the city council with the final, building design, and all this stuff, will be refined as we go.
So can you identify yourself, please?
Can I? Oh, identify myself?
Yes, yeah.
Bob Davidson. I represent G&L China Lake LLC, which is the owner of the property.
Thank you.
Also, I'm Daryl Whitten with Cornerstone Engineering, and also we have David Anderson and Greg Lyons. They're with Nadell Architects. They're here to answer any questions about the elevations or the building design or the amenities that are being proposed.
Commissioners, any other?
No, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but my question was the same for the parking. Really, what's the impact to you if the variance is not granted?
Well, if the variance is not granted, we have to redesign the parking lot, and we'll probably lose 50 or 60 parking stalls doing that. And it'll just, it won't, the site won't function as well. So this is just to try and get as many parking stalls in front of the cinema as we can. And to have a well-functioning, safe parking environment.
Sure, I'm in agreement. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Hayman, any questions? I do have some questions. First of all, for the staff. So we gave public notice and sent letters to the neighbors. We did that part, right?
Correct. It was advertised in the newspaper, and 300-foot notices were sent to all of the residences and businesses within that radius.
Okay. So when they do the TPM 12291, do they have to first merge the 6 parcels and then divide the entire thing into 15, or?
The existing parcels are already there.
Okay.
And when you file a new final map, then it will be the new subdivision. So the underlying 6 parcels will go away. And instead, in its place, there will be a new 15-lot subdivision.
So you don't have to merge the initial 6 parcels? So.
No.
Okay, thank you. There are some discrepancies between tentative parcel map and the SPR. So if we can look at those two. Can you bring that up? Do we have that on the screen? TPM.
No, we don't have a tentative parcel map in the presentation slides.
Okay.
But there's one in your packet.
Okay. So if you look at tentative parcel map 12291, which is in the package, parcel number 4, the location of parcel number 4, the size of that parcel is bigger. I'm sorry, I need to look back. It is 1.73 acres as per the tentative parcel map. Okay. When you go to the proposed site plan, the parcel number 4, it looks very small. So 4 has become small and 5 has become very big in the proposed site plan.
4 is where the cinema and some retail located.
Yeah, that's not what the proposed site plan says, though. It says 5 is for cinemas.
It may have been caused by the subsequent to the initial study. It was published. The map has been changed. At the time of the initial study was prepared, there was only 13 parcels. So the initial study referenced 13 parcels. But as it stands today, I think they've added where you see the 2 retail buildings on either end on the bottom of the picture, and those are divided into 2 now. So that created 15 parcels. So,
but we are attaching these to our approval, so which are...
These are only guidelines for your understanding, and these attachments are not in the resolutions. Resolution is what states what you are approving, but they are not this detail. These details are provided for you to understand what the project is and what not. So the discrepancy comes from the changing of the parcels based on when the report was prepared.
I think the resolution does reference the parcel numbers, though.
The phase 1 parcels are referenced in the resolutions, only phase 1. But phase 2 and the subsequent the parcels are not mentioned. I believe it's...
See, when you go to the Planning Commission Resolution 1908, it refers to all the parcel numbers, and it says the project includes development of 53,977 square feet, 2-story, 10-screen cinemas, and a 7,486 square feet retail space on proposed 1.73 acres. But whereas your SPR is showing the cinemas on parcel 5.
So the parcel numbers change happened because of the late change in the parcel map. But the underlying, the square footages and whatnot stays the same.
Anyway, so you do agree these 2 are differing, right?
There is a discrepancy between the parcel 5 as it is proposed today and the parcel 5 as it is mentioned in the resolution. Either we can come back with the corrected resolution, or if the commission wishes to change this segment of the resolution to reflect what's been proposed as today at the hearing, we can change the language if the commission so decide.
Okay.
What page is the resolution on in the staff report?
It's
It's
not,
an attachment, Mr. Whitten.
Okay.
Planning
It's
Commission.
after page 16.
Okay, so while you look that up, we'll move on. The 10-screen cinemas, is it a 2-story or 1?
one portion of the cinema, I believe that's where the equipments are going to be sitting, and that's higher than, that's the second story that I considered as a second story. Mezzanine, yes.
Okay, coming to the development agreement, as per section 2030 of zoning ordinance, the development agreement should specify the maximum height and size of the proposed buildings, provide that construction shall be commenced within a specific time. So I don't see that in the development agreement. So that, I mean, to me, it's not as per the zoning ordinance, if that is the case. What do you say, Commissioner?
You're right.
I mean, I like the project, no, don't get me wrong, but we want to do the things right. So if the zoning ordinance says something, then it should be in the development agreement.
If it is the commission wish, the commission can make a recommendation to the city council that to be included in the development agreement in an attachment or any other place when you are making a recommendation for approval or denial to the city council.
Because you're not asking for a variance on that, I think we can probably do that, and that would help expedite the whole process for the developers too. So, you know, like Solomon, great idea. We would love to see this move forward. However, we want to make sure that there's nothing that gets you pinched at the, at the end. So let's get this stuff done first, and that way we're not coming back to this and holding you guys up any longer.
What exactly are the two items that you're...
It should specify the maximum height and size of proposed buildings and provisions for reservation of land for public purposes, and the agreement should also state the the agreement may provide that construction shall be commenced within a specific time, and that the project or any phase thereof be completed within a specific time frame. So we have the latter part, but the first part we don't have. When they will be, I think it is very important to have that, because we are giving 10 years time, and we are saying it starts from the time first approval of the planning. What is the wording of something like that? So if they don't get the approval
Right.
till the first eight years, then it starts from 8 years to 10 years.
The way the zoning ordinance reads right now, when you approve a site plan, it's valid only for 18 months. So if they do, then within that 18-month period, that's where the development agreement kicks in. After that, within that 18-month period, they will have to submit a plans for the building permit, and then the development agreement will kick in at that date and go for 10 years from that date, the way it is written now. So the 18 months, which is already built into the zoning ordinance, that don't need to be mentioned anywhere, because it's automatically in the zoning ordinance for 18 months initial approval.
That doesn't explain that location and the size of the building now.
So if you look at Exhibit B of the development agreement, so it doesn't state when the phase 1 description. I mean, I know you did not draft this, so it was drafted by our legal, I think. So these are the gaps we have here. Nothing is mentioned here, phase 1 description.
Yeah, the concern of the developer, he hasn't been concerned about phase 1. His intention is to move ahead with phase 1 as soon as possible. And the concern was about the timing of phase 2. That's why there's nothing in the in Exhibit B about when phase 1 would start.
Yeah, I agree with you, sir, but I mean, it has to be mentioned there, right? So you can't have blank documents.
There's no way to know when phase one starts. We can't know, they can't know. In other words, we'll start phase one once we go through this whole process of working drawings, plan check, permitting, all the reviews. There's no way we know when that's going to be because so many people have an input into how that's going to be done. What the development agreement says is that all this stuff has to be done within 10 years. But there's no way today any of us can know exactly when it's going to start because we're not at the position of being able to get a permit. So the way the attorney wrote that basically takes all that into account, which is why that first little box isn't filled in. But if you look at the totality of the DA, it just covers 10 years. And, we'll start as soon as we can. Now, there's no way the development agreement can force you to start any project. But our intent is to start as fast as we can, and whatever that day turns out to be, once we get our building permit, then we'll do it. But we can't do anything beyond that 10-year deadline. So, the deadline is set,
Sure.
but the starting point can't be determined right now.
But that goes along with our ordinance, though. So ordinance 30.5 says that we should have a start date there. You can always ask for an amendment or come for an extension. So, but as per the zoning ordinance, the starting date has to be mentioned in this.
Well, whatever you think is, why don't you put something in there, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. I mean, I can't.
I'm not the builder. You are the builder. So
Well,
you
what number would you like in there?
I don't
30,
care.
it's 36 months. We have to start in 36 months.
Sure. It's up to you. So you know what you are doing.
Well,
so.
we're trying to start as soon as we can, and we just don't know when that will be. So, if we say 36 months, we'll probably start by 36 months. If for some reason we haven't started in 36 months, then we'll come back. We're probably covered. If you want a number, if you put 36 months, then you're probably...
Yeah. As I said, we want to do this. It's not our intention for...
No, I think that would work. There's enough room in there, because we're thinking much shorter than that, but we can't say for sure. So I don't want to say something that, in fact, because we can't get our building permits, we can't meet, and throws the whole thing out of whack.
Sure.
So,
Thank you.
So let's put 36 months for phase one, and
Start.
with regard to the building height and size, I think the development agreement is silent on that because that's already controlled by the zoning ordinance, and we're not proposing anything that would conflict with the existing zoning. A lot of development agreements would include if you wanted to have a variance, and so you could wrap that into the development agreement, but
Sure.
the existing height and size restrictions that are already codified in the zoning ordinance would control the development.
Okay. So we'll make a mention somewhere in the development agreement. It would be as per the ordinance or something like that. So to cover that. So those are the concerns I have. So I'm sorry. So we just want to do this thing in a right way. So follow the zonal ordinance. So
So are there any other concerns besides the timing and the building height and size?
yeah.
Well, I would recommend that we approve the development agreement, or recommend that it be approved with 36 months as the minimum, as the start date for phase one, and that all building height and size would be in conformance with the existing zoning ordinance.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate that. So if there are no other commissioner comments, at this time I would like to open this for public comment. So I don't see anybody coming to the podium. Thank you.
I'd like to make a few comments.
Sure.
We've been working on this project for about 2 years. We brought this a development before the Planning Commission about 7 years ago. It was at an odd time. It was right in the middle. We thought Walmart was going to be already moving, but Walmart hadn't started yet. It had gotten bogged down. The developer has been sitting on this property a long time waiting for the right kind of project. Looked at all kinds of different options, big box, retail, what would complement the existing commercial in the area, and he arrived at this the cinema because there's a need for it. So we have put a lot of work into it. We'd appreciate your approval of the project, the map, the parking standards, and the development agreement, and the developer is eager to get started on this. So this is not a pie in the sky thing that, you know, I work for people on occasion who will come to me and they'll get something like this approved and then go out and hunt for a tenant. Okay, that's not the case here. This developer is ready to move forward with this, and this project, we hope to see it under construction within a year. So your support for it and your approval as recommended by the staff report, with the modifications that we discussed about the development agreement, we would appreciate your vote for this. So if you have any other questions, we're all here and appreciate your consideration.
So we close the public comment time. Sorry.
That's right, because it's going to have to be changed.
Yeah. So we had public comments. So any other comments from the commissioners?
No, all my questions have been answered.
Thank you, sir. So we discussed a lot about this. I mean, I just want to say we really like this project. We want to be part of this development. Whatever we can do, we want to try to do that. So the city is behind this project. So we appreciate you coming to Ridgecrest and taking up this project. Thank you very much. So having said that, so do I have a motion to approve this with the changes we talked about, which would be changes in the site plan as per the changes in the resolution, I'm sorry. So you need to change the parcel number from 4 to 5.
The recital part, yes.
Yeah. And then we need to add the starting date within 36 days and the height and size of the buildings as per city ordinance.
36 months, not 36
36
days.
months, I'm sorry. So how would
So,
we...
yeah, I move that we approve based on the stipulated changes that we discussed.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Vice Chairman Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Blades,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman. Aye. 4 ayes, motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So at this time, we'll take a 3-minute break. So. Okay, thank you, all of you, for being back on time. So let's move on, discussion and other action items. Item number 1, tentative track map 6775 extension. Consideration for a 12-month extension for a track with 77 lots located at the southwest corner of Springer Avenue and College Heights Boulevard, APN 510-010-18. This time I request staff report to be presented.
So the applicant is requesting a 12-month extension for this map. This map has had one extension previously. This map was amended in 2015, and at that time the commission approved the addition of a landscape easement along College Heights Boulevard. This landscape easement made 3 of the lots below the required 10,000 square feet. The map below this one is the tract TTM 6700, and that came before commission in November of 2018. At that time, they requested a variance for the non-conforming parcels on that map caused by the landscape easement. The commission decided to remove that landscape easement condition. So along with the 12-month extension, the applicant is also asking for consideration of removal of this landscape easement as it is adjoining the property, so it's the same landscape easement. And that would also prevent the non-conforming lot sizes that are on the map right now. Daryl Witten is the engineer on this, so if you have questions, you can ask him, and staff recommends approval.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this? This time I open for public comment. Mr. Witten.
Thank you, Chairman and Planning Commission. So we're this map. We almost have the I think the construction plans are fully done. We've been working on them, but track 6700, which is just to the south of this, had a condition on it that required an additional landscape dedication along College Heights Boulevard because the general plan has quite a wide landscape easement shown for this boulevard. But the general plan was done before we had water issues in the valley and so or in the basin. So this condition has already been eliminated on track 6700. And we would just like to have the same condition eliminated. So in this case, it's condition 1B6 is a condition that says additional parkway dedication along College Heights Boulevard shall be necessary for the landscaping per Ridgecrest Municipal Code. We'd like to have that condition removed. Other than that, we're ready to the developer is ready to move this project forward. So we would just ask the map be extended for another 12 months, and that condition requiring the additional landscape dedication along Ridgecrest Boulevard to be eliminated. That's all.
And that's what we're doing.
Is this something else that's going to have to be kicked up to council? Another precedent that's set to?
No, because it's already been done.
Okay.
I mean, it'll still have to go.
Sure.
But
I have no questions.
Okay. Commissioner Hayman? No. Commissioner Ferris?
no questions.
I do have one question to the staff. I mean, we talked about this. So we are extending, this is the second extension, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we are extending 12 months from
The date of this hearing.
date of this hearing.
Correct.
So the total extension, 3 extension, not more than 36 months, right? So I have no problem extending from as of today instead of as of 4/28/2019 because it's our fault. We did not take care of this. So, but we cannot exceed the 36 months when we do the next extension, right?
Well, the municipal code specifically says that we can give 12-month extensions. So whether that extension is based on the date they apply or the date we get it in front of you and you approve it is not clear. It just says that we can give it for 12 months. So if it's sat here.
But it also says total cannot exceed 36 months. So we have to be very careful there. So, I mean, we can approve this as you recommended now, but for the next extension, we may have to.
I can ask legal
Okay.
for clarification on that.
Okay.
Mr. Whitten, it sounds like this project's ready to move forward, right? The 12 months are not necessarily going to be used, all 12 months?
Well, we can argue about that next year, but yeah,
Please no.
the developer wants to get this. You know, this project's been. This was graded, and the final grading was done in 2008. So it's been sitting out there, and the guy that owns it wants to get the lots finished. He's a very prolific builder in Bakersfield. He's going to build 300 homes in Bakersfield this year. He doesn't know if he can. I think what he wants to do is finish these out and sell the lots to local builders. I don't think he's going to bring his own crews over here and go vertical on housing, but he's got this investment, and he knows the maps are getting ready to expire, so he's going to put the money in and finish the lots. So I believe that's his intent.
Because this is the end of the allowable time for extensions, right? After this 12 months?
No.
There is one more.
One more.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he's got to do something in the next 24 months, or the maps are going to expire.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
As long as
Thank you, sir.
everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. So do I have a motion to approve the TTM 6775 extension?
Yes. Right, we have to remove the condition.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So moved.
Second, please.
Seconded.
Vice Chairman Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Blades,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2, tentative track map 6731 extension. Consideration for a 12-month extension for the track with 122 lots generally located near the northwest corner of Kendall Avenue and South Norma Street, APN 510-010-06 and 510-010-07. Staff report, please.
So this map was originally approved with an expiration date in 2012. Various acts by the State Assembly and the Senate have extended that map through 2018. Last year, this was heard and extended to 2019. I believe last year when it was extended, those additional conditions that have been of concern, the landscaping and lighting districts, and those things were added last year, I believe. So this would be the second extension that they've asked for. This is the tract located out here off of Norma, so it's kind of a ways. So they're just asking for another 12 months. That's the map. Looks like there's 3 phases. Staff recommends approval.
Commissioner comments, please.
This has been updated with new lighting and landscape. Is that correct? For the new
Correct.
ordinance? Okay.
When it came to you guys last year, those conditions were added.
No comments on my behalf.
At this time, I open for public comment. I don't see any rush to the podium, so do I have a motion to approve, what is that? Sorry, TTM 6731 extension?
Yes, I motion to approve.
Second.
I will second.
Vice Chairman Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Blades,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 3, TTM 6912 extension. Consideration for a 12-month extension for track with 23 lots generally located northwest of Jarvis Avenue and College Heights Boulevard, APN 510041-012, 510-041-17, 510-042-012, 510-042-17, and 510-043-012, 510-043-16. Staff report, please.
Okay, so this map came before the Planning Commission, and its original expiration date was in January of 2010. This map has been extended by various Assembly and Senate bills, looks like through June of this year. I don't know how that could be, but, oh no, let's see. In January, we received a request for an extension of the map.
It should be
I believe this is Daryl. Is this Daryl? Is this yours, Daryl? Can you elaborate on this?
Elaborate on what?
Has this had an extension before? I don't.
No, I don't believe it had.
Okay, so that's.
But we had the map into the city planning department in time, but it has just
Correct.
it's been delayed, and so it's just now coming before the planning commission. But we're asking for a 12-month extension, and we'll be back here again in January, probably asking for another one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Staff would recommend approval on this extension as well.
Commissioner comments, please.
No comments.
Okay. Public comment? Do I have a motion to approve TTM map 6912 extension?
So moved.
Second, please.
Seconded.
Vice Chairman Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Blades,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. The fourth item, temporary sign ordinance, discussion of temporary sign ordinance. Staff report, please.
So, temporary signs have begun to appear across the community, and several of the signs have been reported to code enforcement as a result. Some, I believe, at this point have been removed. In order to be proactive in enforcement on temporary signs that are in violation, staff has brought this item for the commission. The municipal code does have requirements for temporary signs, but as you can see by the first requirement, it does not require a permit. Some of the signs, this one isn't so much a temporary sign, but it's kind of leads to what some public concern has been with signs. This is an advertising sign in front of an apartment complex, which doesn't relate to the apartment, and that is not a permitted sign. These are more temporary signs. So you have a vehicle that has a store sign on a ladder in the back of a vehicle. You also can see in the second picture, the circle is around a pole, and that was the Papa John's sign that is laying in the bushes there that you can kind of see. That is a temporary banner sign that is not permitted. These are some more additional ones. Along the fence line, there are some event signs, and then there's also an advertising sign stuck there. That fence line is actually city property. And again, that's just a closer view of the other sign that's in front of the apartment complex. So staff is asking for your input. Recommendation, would you like to see us devise a permit for temporary signs? Some of the things that might handle is establishing, if it's a 10-day period that they're allowed to have a sign, then, that could generate a notification for us to inform them that it's been past the 10 days and needs to be removed. Also, as with the Papa John sign, it's too large anyway. As the temporary sign ordinance reads right now, even the temporary sign still has to fit into the allowable sign space. So we would be able to advise people, because we don't want to just go after everybody with code enforcement, and it just kind of becomes uneven distribution of the code, because you have people that are going to complain, and then we're going to go out and enforce the code on them. But other people might not complain. But also they might not even, they might not be aware. And if they came in to get a permit, we would be able to tell the business owner, this is the allowable size, and this is how you can do that sign. And so they could still take advantage of having the advertising, but without causing a public hazard.
Yeah, my apologies. I was going to read the ordinance. I didn't have time. Oasis project took most of my time. I can't read now. No.
So this is just for discussion anyway,
Correct.
Right? Okay.
So it's just a matter of, do you guys want to see me bring back something to talk about a temporary sign permit? And then based on what the code has right here, which is in your staff report, it's the italicized portion. That is what the temporary sign code says.
I would recommend we continue the item for next meeting. Meanwhile, you can come up with something.
Would you like me to draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next item, commissioner items, comments, committee reports. Mr. Ferris.
So none of my committees that I serve on met. So I've got nothing to report on.
Same here, ditto. So nothing to report. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Heyman, you want to make any comment?
No comment.
Commissioner, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Kyle.
Right. Did we? I just maybe for you. Did we want to go over the committees? Because we sort of just discussed it briefly. Is this how it is now?
Yeah, and we added. So do you have the list?
Assignments?
So economic development will be Bill and,
Kyle?
yes, I'm all Blades.
That's okay.
Bill and Blades.
Blades is fine with me.
Bill Blades.
Yeah.
And then infrastructure, you're again on that, Blades?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And on quality of life?
Yep.
And then Heyman, you're going to be on quality of life? Yes. Okay. And you guys see that the schedule for that, there's no conflicts with anything else? Okay.
This is the schedule on the top. So
I got it. We didn't go over it in any official capacity. We just sort of said, yeah, that's good. Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Commissioner Ferris, any comments?
Welcome to the new commissioners. I'd like to thank Daryl and the folks that were here to discuss that new development. Excited about seeing it go forward, and that's it.
Same year, welcome to the new commissioners. Hope you'll enjoy our company. So as we go down the road.
I mean,
So-
it's been fun so
so,
far.
yeah. And Oasis project, that's a great project. So we would like to see that get started as soon as possible. So thanks for all your cooperation in making those amendments and then getting that approved. Thanks for Mayor and Councilman Heyman to being here for almost 1.5 hours. So thank you very much for your time. And thanks for the Navy rep to be here. Thanks for your time. And Jessica, as always, thank you very much for being here. Staff items.
Do you want to hear about future stuff?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You have 5 minutes.
I'll be brief. So I still have, I believe, about 5 map extensions that I hope to bring before you guys next month. We do have applications in for 3 new tentative track maps. Those are just getting in. And then we will have a site plan review for the town place? Correct. I always want to say townhome, but that's like the buffet place, right? So for the hotel, that will be coming before you soon too.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, there is any other announcements? Nothing. So meeting is adjourned at 7:30 exactly. Thank you very much.